Hamilton. Welcome back to Money Moves, where we turn our focus to alternative assets, places investors are putting their money outside of traditional stocks and bonds. We want to bring you some of our top Bloomberg headlines this hour. Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke will hold a news conference in about 45 minutes' time with its latest policy statements. The FOMC left interest rates unchanged following 2 days of meetings. The Fed is also holding off on further stimulus, saying it expects economic growth to stay moderate and then pick up gradually. The economy of the UK has slipped into recession again, its first double-dip recession since the 1970s. Prime Minister David Cameron announced that the economy contracted 0.2% in the first quarter. Cameron blamed it on historic debt levels and says opponents of austerity are making the problem worse. News Corp founder Rupert Murdoch has been facing tough questions at a UK inquiry, one examining the newspaper's phone hacking scandal. Murdoch denied suggestions that he holds tremendous political influence in Britain and says he never sought business favors from any prime minister. He also called phone hackings a lazy way for journalists to do their jobs. With a little bit more on the markets, a pre-Fed statement, we bring you right now to the New York Stock Exchange. Alex Steele is there. Alex.
Yeah, Deirdre, we want to start with a headline just crossing right now. Exxon reportedly boosting its dividend from 47 cents to 57 cents a share. We're going to be following that stock closely as well. But for the meantime, the NASDAQ is seeing the biggest jump this year. That was really triggered by Apple's blowout quarter and then also helped with the news that the Fed expects growth to gradually accelerate over time. S&P now near highs of the session at 1388. The biggest rally in the S&P, like I mentioned, is coming from tech, but not just Apple, also from companies like Corning, which delivered better than expected earnings of 30 cents a share. And the financials here are also reversing some earlier losses, moving higher after the Fed released those FOMC minutes. Aflac in particular, one of the biggest gainers in the sector. First quarter profit doubled as Japan sales increased 54%. Company now gets two-thirds of its revenue from the country. And one thing I want to highlight for you, Deirdre, gold, pretty volatile session here. On the one hand, accommodative policies like keeping interest rates low through 2014, like the Fed is doing, is good for gold as investors buy it as protection. On the flip side, the lack of monetary easing capping any potential gains. We saw gold down as much as $14 earlier in the session. Now it's even slightly higher. And with that, Deirdre, I'll send it right back to you.
Alex, thank you so much. Alex Steele joining us there from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. One more stock mover to tell you about just crossing the Bloomberg terminal right now. If you look at ExxonMobil stock, you're going to see a move higher. ExxonMobil boosting its quarterly dividend to 57 cents a share versus 47 cents a share. So you do have those headlines crossing from Exxon and the result being felt in the markets. Well, from stocks to commodities, cattle futures tumbled yesterday to their lowest level since July 1st. The first U.S. case of mad cow disease was reported yesterday in California. For more on how cattle futures are moving, we're going to take you right now to the floor of the CME. Larry Shover of SFG Alternatives standing by with today's options update. Larry, just how much could these futures move if more and more cases are found?
Well, let's keep something in mind. It's one poor dairy cow rendered to the glue factory that caused all this problem. And this is a classic problem of momentum. There's people were rattled with momentum. People didn't know what to do. They heard rumors that Korea was going to stop importation to retailers. We didn't know if that was Albertsons or a mom and pop Piggly Wiggly. So with that in mind, no one knew what to do. No one wanted to catch a dropping knife. Things have settled down a little bit. People realize that this rumor is much bigger than it needs to be. It's not affecting the food supply, so we're now seeing some bottom fishing in the market.
All right, Larry, I know cattle futures are not the only ones that you are watching. You're also watching some other softer commodities. What's on your radar?
Yeah, this is big. This is really big. This morning, you have JP Morgan and some other funds coming in, making a huge bet in soybeans and corn. Right now, they're buying November 15 calls in soybeans against selling December $6 calls in corn. I think they're betting on the fact that we're going to have a mild summer in the United States. China won't have the same issues in spring as they did in their planting season for corn. On the other hand, the drought in South America, in particular Argentina, is a real deal. There's a 5 million bushel shortage right now that they're projecting. So they're thinking soybeans will go much higher, corn will go lower.
Larry, thank you so much. Larry Shover joining us there, Chief Investment Officer at SFG Alternatives, with us from the CME for today's options update.